Breaking news in the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee, minutes ago, literally, releasing emails that they say were written by Jeffrey Epstein that explicitly, specifically mentioned Donald Trump by name and in context.
Dude, I don't understand why people are still surprised about this. Like, we know that Donald Trump was best friends with Epstein. They have countless pictures together. They've done beauty pageants together. They've had parties together. Donald Trump wrote Jeffrey Epstein like a coded pedophile, like sexual assaulter themed birthday card for his birthday that he signed. We know that Epstein used Trump not only learn how to traffic women, basing it off of Trump's modeling, his modeling companies, in which he'd get models from around the world and bring them under his wing, essentially. But Epstein literally trafficked women that worked for Donald Trump. Trump said himself a few months ago that the reason he broke up with Epstein eventually is because Epstein took women that were working for Donald Trump for his private island to work for him. He learned how to traffic from Trump. He did traffic from Trump, and they're best friends. Why are we surprised that, now an email got released where Epstein said, yes, this guy's a pedophile, and he circles Trump with a big red circle and then points an arrow at him? Is this really breaking news? I don't know. Maybe I'll eat my words and there'll be videos or something
That we really haven't heard before. Let's get right to Caitlin Collins, who's got this reporting. Caitlin, what are you learning?
Yeah, John, these are emails that show Jeffrey Epstein mentioning Donald Trump by name multiple times in private correspondence that he had with people, including Ghislaine Maxwell, obviously his longtime associate and accomplice, and also the author Michael Wolff, in a time span of about the last 15 years or so in these emails. Now, these are coming out from the House Oversight Committee. They had issued a bipartisan subpoena to Jeffrey Epstein's estate, John, as you know, earlier this year. And so they've gotten their hands on a trove of documents. And these are emails that included Jeffrey Epstein on them. They were sent either to him or from him that mentioned Donald Trump before he was in office and also while he was in office during his first term. And I want to walk you through these emails of what exactly we are reading in Jeffrey Epstein's own words in these emails that have been released by the House Oversight Committee. And in one of them, Jeffrey Epstein...
This is just kind of comical. They're like, yes, these are emails saying that Epstein was huge friends with Trump and they were pedophiles together. Meanwhile, we'll show you a bunch of images of Epstein being big friends with Trump and their shared interest in pedophilia. Okay, this is bombshell reporting, I guess.
Says, and I should note, Trump did not send or receive any of these messages. He's not a party to these emails, John, but these are emails from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell. This is one from April 2nd, 2011, and in this email, Jeffrey Epstein writes to Ghislaine Maxwell and says, quote, I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. There's a name that's redacted, which the House Oversight Committee has said is a victim of Jeffrey Epstein's. Obviously, we have not been able to independently confirm that because her name is redacted from this email. But they say redacted spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned, police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. Ghislaine Maxwell responds to that email, John, and says, quote, I have been thinking about that. Now, there's no context for that message.
Bro, that's crazy. I know there's all of this circumstantial evidence, right? Oh, Epstein was best friends with Trump. He based his business around Trump. He literally trafficked women from Trump. Countless anecdotal evidence about Trump and Epstein both being way too interested in young women. But then you just have I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. So, first of all, only a psychopath writes in all lowercase, but somehow uses punctuation with hasn't. But anyway, I'm getting on a sidetrack. He's basically saying Trump hasn't squealed on us, even though he spent time with an underage girl. Blank spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. So he's just Trump has not been mentioned. Either Trump has not been mentioned in investigations or Trump has not been mentioned in investigations, or Trump hasn't squealed, and probably like a little bit of both. I'm 75% there. And then Maxwell's like, yeah, I've been thinking about him.
75% there. Ghislaine Maxwell responds to that email, John, and says, quote, I have been thinking about that. Now, there's no context for that message in this release of what we're getting. Obviously, this was a time span, and this was about 3 years after Jeffrey Epstein had accepted what is now. There's no context.
Well, what did she say? Blank Mar-a-Lago, blank, redacted. Trump said he asked me to resign. Never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls he asked Ghislaine to stop. This is from Jeffrey Epstein to Michael Wolff. And it just says, Trump has said he asked me to resign, never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls he asked, as he asked Ghislaine to stop. So this is just this is Epstein telling a reporter and Michael Wolff that Trump knew about the girls he was trafficking, and he asked Ghislaine to stop trafficking the girls. Is that what he's saying?
Next, for that message in this release of what we're getting. Obviously, this was a time span, and this was about 3 years after Jeffrey Epstein had accepted what is now known as that sweetheart deal that only got him a few months in prison, and something that came under a ton of scrutiny during Donald Trump's first term in office because of his then Labor Secretary Alex Acosta, who helped negotiate that plea deal, that sweetheart deal for Jeffrey Epstein at the time. And so that's the context of this. Came about 3 years after he had negotiated that plea deal, John. And there's also other emails that have been released by the committee this morning, including between Jeffrey Epstein and Michael Wolff. People will remember Michael Wolff, of course, the author who wrote a book on the inner workings of Trump's West Wing back in 2018 during his first term. He is someone who has talked at length about his own correspondence with Jeffrey Epstein, published audio recordings of those conversations between the two of them. And in another email, and this seems to be a reference to Donald Trump saying that he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago club. And Jeffrey Epstein writes to Michael Wolff and says, quote, Trump said he asked me to resign. And he adds, John, never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. Now, again, we don't have the context of this email, but John, that comes as in recent months, we've heard President Trump himself and the White House say that Jeffrey Epstein was kicked out of Mar-a-Lago for being a creep. And Trump himself told reporters on Air Force One that he was trying to poach women, he and Ghislaine Maxwell, from the Mar-a-Lago spa. And that was why they had such a falling out, and why he ultimately asked Jeffrey Epstein to leave.
Oh, that's so fucked up. Like, once again, Trump is fine with him trafficking women. What Trump isn't fine with is Epstein trafficking women from Trump's Mar-a-Lago. He's not fine with Trump is not fine with Epstein trafficking his women. Like, he doesn't give a shit about other people, but he's like, those are mine, Jeffrey. You can't go there. Well, what did I tell you? I said, how many times did I have to say it? You can't take the girls out of my spa. Those are my massagers. You can find your own.
Club. Now, there's also a third email in here, John, and this is, again, in regards to Jeffrey Epstein and Michael Wolff. And Michael Wolff emails Jeffrey Epstein, and this is back in December 15th, 2015, so the height of the 2016 campaign, just to put that in perspective for you. And it was the day of a CNN Republican primary debate. And Michael Wolff says, quote, I hear that CNN is planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in a scrum afterwards. And Epstein wrote, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? Michael Wolff responded at length, John. I'll summarize it. But he said, in regards to Trump, I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the House, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you. Or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him generating a debt. Now, I'll note, John, we looked at the transcript of that CNN debate from December 2015. There's no mention of Jeffrey Epstein in there. And of course, as I mentioned, Donald Trump himself is not a party to these emails. But what this shows...
Bro, what the fuck is this shit where it's like Michael Wolff is giving Jeffrey Epstein political maneuverings advice? Like, isn't he supposed to be a reporter? He's like telling this guy the optimal way to play Trump in the 2016 campaign.
And debate from
That's
Jeffrey
crazy.
Epstein mentioning Donald Trump by name multiple times at a moment here in Washington when their relationship has come under incredibly intense scrutiny, John.
Caitlin, as you mentioned multiple times, we just don't have the context surrounding any of these emails. But that first email you read, the language absolutely jumps out to me. This is April 2nd, 2011. Epstein writes to Ghislaine Maxwell, I want you to realize the dog that hasn't barked is Trump, blank. And blank here is one of the alleged victims of Jeffrey Epstein. A victim spent hours at my house with him being Trump. He has never once been mentioned. Now, again, we don't have the context surrounding that, Caitlin, but this kind of language from Jeffrey Epstein himself, how often has Donald Trump, what has Donald Trump said about contact he may have had or time he may have allegedly spent with some of Epstein's alleged victims?
Yeah, and John, just to be clear, the woman, the person whose name is redacted here was redacted by the House Oversight Committee before they put this out. That has been a huge point of focus as people have demanded the release of these documents, is to be able to protect the survivors and the victims. We have not been able to independently verify who this person is. The committee is the one doing the redacting here. But obviously he is referencing someone who Jeffrey Epstein says in this email from 2011 that spent time with Donald Trump at his house. And so
kind of a non-story, like how many pieces of evidence do we need to how many different pieces of evidence do we need before people are just like, yeah, he's a pedophile? Like, the Republicans already know he's a pedophile. They've accepted it. Oh yeah, Trump, he's a pedophile, but we kind of like dropped the Epstein thing. Like, what do we have? Who was the big Jeffrey Epstein person? Like, who among the right were doing that Jeffrey Epstein narratives? Jeffrey Epstein, what do we have? Fox News. What? White House slams Dems' bad faith Epstein document release as demand for files intensifies. Okay, let's get the Fox News. Let's get the Fox News take on this. The White House is firing back after House Democrats released a set of documents Wednesday detailing previously undisclosed communications from Jeffrey Epstein about Donald Trump. Democrats selectively leaked emails to the liberal media to create a fake narrative to smear President Trump. Yeah, obviously they did it selectively. The whole point is to get Donald Trump to release all of the things that he has, all of the investigation material that he has accumulated on Epstein. That's the whole point of it. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said in a statement to Fox News Digital. Okay, we need to see her interview. Caroline Leavitt, Fox News. Okay.
Allow the president to use tariffs as leverage to negotiate economic deals that are good for our national security. Shutdown is going to come to an end. The damage.
What is Kash Patel doing up there?
And if successful, we would suffocate the drug trafficking organization's ability to manufacture fentanyl in places like.
Thank you again, Director Patel. Before we get going, I do have one quick scheduling announcement. Tomorrow, the government shutdown for 4 days, impacting vulnerable activity over the course of this shutdown, hurting consumer sentiment and crushing.
Come on, let's just get to the Fox News thing.
Leaving our policymakers at the Democrats' weakness and their unwillingness to buck the fringe members of their party dragged this harmful shutdown. The affordability issues created by Joe Biden and the Democrats. And that's exactly what President Trump has done since day one of his administration. Since the first day in office, Social Security, our energy and nearly 3,000.
A senior government minister launched a fierce defence of the channel in the House of Commons, saying that the broadcaster remains a light on the hill for people.
And a machine that is unfortunately subsidized by, and whether they apologize or not is up to them. Thanks for being here, Bev. And he rightfully dubbed that term many years ago, and this is a class.
Oh, is this the Epstein?
Has always been very frank when he disagrees with leaders, even whom he has a good relationship with.
I don't think so.
The BBC, being a fair news organization, is definitely an outlet. I think these two leaders would disagree. The president has made it very clear that this is a leftist propaganda machine that is unfortunately
The BBC is a leftist propaganda machine.
He thinks that's extremely unfortunate for the great people of the United Kingdom and Great Britain. And I think
been released by House Democrats.
Oh, here we go. Let's fucking lock in.
Sure.
I have your statement about the new Epstein emails that have been released by House Democrats. Separate from why you believe the emails were made public, can you address their substance? Did the president ever spend hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house with a victim?
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. And what President Trump has always said.
Did Donald Trump spend hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house with a victim? I'll tell you what, Donald Trump did nothing wrong. Oh, you didn't answer the question.
Is that he was from Palm Beach, and so was Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, he was from Palm Beach, and so was Epstein. He loved children, and so did Epstein. He was a consumer of high fashion and modeling, and so was Epstein. He loved Little St. James, and so did Epstein. Like, let me lay out all of these different connections for you. Now, if you're a pedophile, then being a pedophile means that you could say that they did nothing wrong if you're a pedophile. So yeah, maybe just stick to the facts rather than moralizing Donald Trump's pedophilia for us.
Jeffrey Epstein was a member at Mar-a-Lago until President Trump kicked him out.
And he kicked him out for trying to steal his massage workers.
Because Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile and he was a creep. And this email...
No, that's not why. That's not why. He didn't kick him out because he's a pedophile. He kicked him out because he hired a spa worker that Donald Trump didn't want him to hire. He was fine with him trafficking women as long as they were women that worked for Trump.
You refer to with the name of a victim that was unredacted now and has since been reported on in this room, so I will go ahead and say it, Virginia Giuffre. And it was CBS.
What? What? It was unredacted? She's just saying the name of the victim? Okay.
His own reporting, Ouija, that recently wrote that Miss Giuffre maintained, and God rest her soul, that she maintained that there was nothing inappropriate she ever witnessed, that President Trump was always extremely professional and friendly to her. And so I think it's a question worth asking the Democrat Party, and you should all go ask them after this briefing, of why they chose to redact that name of a victim who has already publicly made statements.
Bro, it's to protect the it's your party that says you can't release these documents because you need to protect victims. And then you're like, why did they redact the name of the victim? Oh my God. Also, like, you can say that the victim that came out talking about the victim that came out talking about Donald Trump said that he didn't do anything wrong. Okay, but like he still spent hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house. But you're saying emails are leaked out? We won't put out the files to protect the victims. Yeah. What the fuck? She just like said the person's, I don't know. Apparently, according to her, the name had been unredacted.
About her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein is unfortunately no longer with us. Mary.
And she killed herself because of like the trauma and guilt and being harassed by Epstein.
Two questions on this. In the interest of transparency, why not just go ahead, release the full files on Epstein, get this all over with?
And this is the point. This is like actually a decent thing that the Democrats did. I think it's a stupid timing to do it though, because you have the government shutdown this week. Like, you could have waited to do it next week, but the point is to get this narrative back into the news zeitgeist and have reporters asking the White House press secretary, like, why aren't you just releasing all of the files? Well, we have released the file. Okay, well, apparently you didn't, because there was files indicating that Donald Trump did spend hours at Epstein's house. And according to Epstein, he's the dog that hadn't barked. He's not mentioned by the police chief, and he was surprised about that. Why would Epstein be surprised about Donald Trump not being named in investigations if he knew that Trump was just like a distinguished gentleman that was perusing Epstein's house, just looking at all of his art collection that he had.
This administration has done more with respect to transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein than any administration.
No, you didn't, bro. Okay, first of all, I thought that was hilarious when she's like, we've done more in respect to transparency. And then she said, in respect to Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, no, you haven't, first of all. If you stopped at transparency, I was going to laugh because you're literally disappearing people, sending them into torture camps and like slave labor camps in the Everglades and in El Salvador. But okay, she said in respect to Jeffrey Epstein. So you released files that were already released. Like, if you want to say you've released files that were already released and then said you're releasing the Epstein files and it was all released already. I'm pretty sure those were released under Joe Biden. Secondly, Epstein literally died under Donald Trump's first administration. In the second administration, Ghislaine Maxwell was pardoned, essentially, or she's like actively working out a deal with the White House currently. And you've said, Pam Bondi, I think it was, had said so many different times, like, I have the files, they're sitting on my desk, I can't wait to go through them. Then you show up the next day and it's like, what files? There are no files. There are no files, and yet there was a FBI leak that said Donald Trump's name appeared in the files, and you're like, we're the most we're the most open administration ever on Jeffrey Epstein, even though we lie about it every other word that comes out of our mouths.
Ever. In fact, this administration, the Department of Justice, has turned over tens of thousands of documents to the American people. We are cooperating and showing support for the House Oversight Committee. That's part of the reason you're
showing support for the Oversight Committee, and yet you're like criticizing them for releasing this and attacking Trump and criticizing them for redacting the names of the victims. That's showing support for the Oversight Committee.
You are seeing these documents that were released today because of the House Oversight Committee's and Republicans' efforts to get these out to the public. This administration also moved, the Department of Justice also moved to unseal grand jury testimony, which we know, unfortunately, a judge declined those requests. So this administration has done more than any, and it just shows how this is truly a manufactured.
She honestly looks like she's about to cry. She looks like her eyes are red, man.
Democrat Party. For now, they're talking about it all of a sudden because President Trump is in the Oval Office. But when Joe Biden was sitting in there, the Democrats never brought this up. This wasn't an issue that.
Why are you mad about that? Why are you mad about that? Why are you mad that suddenly the Democrats see the light and they want the Epstein files to be released? You should be ecstatic. You should be licking your heels as you jump for joy.
They cared about, because they actually don't care about the victims in these cases. They care about trying to score political.
Bro, they were. Oh my God.
Points against President Trump.
They redacted the name of the victim to protect the victim, and you're like, well, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to say her name because she's dead now.
As we have, of course, seen with this government shutdown, and this entire thing. Again,
it's the Republicans that are literally suing to not feed children because they think it pressures the Democrats to end the shutdown, and you're trying to say that they don't care about the victims, as we've seen in the shutdown? Motherfucker! Your administration is suing. It's like suing through the courts to try to not feed children, specifically because they think it puts pressures on Democrats to open the government again. And you're going to sit here and say that it's the Democrats that don't care about victims, even though they're trying to get the files of the Epstein released? You're like, oh, the Democrats want to get the Epstein files released. They obviously don't care about victims. Oh, the Democrats want to get people's health insurance back. They obviously don't care about victims. Oh, the Democrats are suing the government to feed children. They obviously don't care about victims. They're just doing all of this shit for political points. Oh my God, the projection is astounding. This is infuriating.
Again, it's not a coincidence to the American people at home. There are no coincidences in Washington, D.C., and it is not a coincidence.
There's no coincidences in Washington, D.C. It's just that Epstein was best friends with Trump, and they lived together, and he stole people from Trump's Mar-a-Lago. Trump spent hours at his house with victims of trafficking. He modeled his human trafficking agency off of Donald Trump's modeling agency. Like, yeah, there are no coincidences though, except for all of these coincidences.
that the Democrats leaked these emails to the fake news this morning ahead of Republicans reopening the government. This is another distraction.
I thought you literally just fucking said that the House Oversight Committee, which is the body that released these emails, is a Republican and Democrat built thing, and it has the support of your administration. What are we doing here? Like, she says one thing, and then 30 seconds later says the exact opposite thing. She's like, yes, this administration is extremely in favor of supporting the release of Epstein files and investigating the Epstein files. And actually, the House Oversight Committee has the support of this administration, and it's made up of, like, they release these files with the help of Republicans. But actually, it's a completely politically motivated thing done by the Democrats, and they don't care about the victims, and they're just doing this to try to, like, distract from the government being reopened. Holy fuck, bro. And then Trump is claiming he's going to send out $2,000 tariff checks, totally not buying political points. I mean, yeah, good point.
Campaign by the Democrat in the liberal media, and it's why I'm being asked questions about Epstein instead of the government reopening because of Republicans in
I thought you were in favor of releasing Epstein files, and now you're throwing a hissy fit because someone asked you about these documents that were released? What the fuck? You should be giving us an Epstein update every fucking day.
President Trump.
But given your
Reagan.
interest in transparency, Caroline, why are White House officials then meeting with Representative Boebert in an effort to try and get her to not sign this petition calling for the release of the files?
Doesn't it show transparency that members of the Trump administration are willing to brief members of Congress whenever they please?
What? What, bro? Oh, then you say you're in favor of transparency and releasing the files, then why is your White House meeting with members of Congress telling them to not support petitions calling for the release of the files? And she's like, doesn't it show transparency when members of the White House are willing to meet with Congress people whenever they want? What are you talking about? What is going on right now? No, that's not transparency. That's strong-arming another member of Congress. Holy shit. Doesn't it show transparency when we try to intimidate another politician into doing what we want them to do? No, that you need to get a dictionary. Someone should buy her a dictionary.
Doesn't that show our level of transparency? Doesn't that show the level of transparency when we are willing to sit down with members?
By the way, this is the White House. This is the same White House that refused to have official negotiations with Democrats through a 42-day government shutdown. They needed Democrat votes, and they refused to negotiate with them. But according to Caroline Leavitt, talking to members of Congress is a form of transparency for the White House.
Of Congress and address their concerns. That is
because they address the concerns of Congress.
That's a defining factor of transparency. Having discussions with members of Congress about various issues, and I'm not going to detail conversations that took place in the situation.
It's literally not the definition of transparency. Like, you can say that you're open to talking, but that's not the same as transparency.
Room in the press briefing room. Reagan.
I have a question about the government shutdown.
Thank you. I'm glad someone does.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Literally, it just reminds me of the snake. Satan's snake in the garden.
Sure, John. I'll go to John and then Zolan. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Trump has talked about sending out $2,000 checks to U.S. citizens. Earlier this year, he also talked about sending a Doge.
All right, whatever. I don't care about the rest of that. That was pretty funny, though. So, yeah, Donald Trump's a pedophile, and the Republicans refuse to release information about Epstein, and they're so adamant about not releasing information about Epstein and Donald Trump that they are strong-arming members of Congress in order to force them to not sign petitions calling for the release of these files. And if you ask them about that, well, strong-arming and intimidating Congress people, that is a form of transparency. All right, great job. Great job, Republicans.